Even with 4,000 hours on Kovacs, I am still running into new stuff. And because this is not going to be found anywhere else on the internet, I thought I would make this video. I recently put out this tweet where I talked about tracking on a controller. So it's a bit different from M&K. I have this first dot, keeping the thumb pushed within a range that is on target but is not held at a constant point. This is something very common. You will see this a lot where your crosshair is like this on the target. Second one is thumb is placed perfectly and moves at a constant pace, staying on target. Controllers are super interesting because when you push the controller a little bit this way, it's going to go that way. If you hold it perfectly here, right, if that was perfect, it would stay aiming in game at that perfect point. Same with the other side, same with any side. All right, and that is what happens here. You are perfectly on target. And then if you're off target, thumb is pushed too far in one direction and leads just ahead or behind the target. You'll see this happen a lot too, where you just can't get on target. It's a bit different with aim assist because I'm playing without aim assist. This is a bit more common. And the third example is quite interesting because this is something you are going to run into a lot, to where the target's moving very quickly. And you can see the crosshairs are not going to be perfect how it is here, but because it's moving, you can keep your crosshair or your aim on it while still being a bit shaky, and then when it goes into a strafe, you can keep it perfect. So it says when a target makes quick, sharp turns, taking the time to hold the analog stick in one constant direction is difficult, can be practiced, and is best in theory, but keeping your thumb pushed in a range that is on target works well for these moments. Yeah, this tweet did pretty good. I was surprised 62 people bookmarked it. There's 77 likes. Some people reposted it. Funny enough, I had asked some M&K players to give their input. We got VT Maddie, the literal best aimer of all time currently. Does not like controller aiming, so, you know, that's funny. Unfortunate. I think the guy will come around. He'll see what I'm doing and he'll like it. One day, surely. Alright, so today I wanted to make two playlists to kind of help with practicing this, because literally what I'm talking about is not going to be on the internet. I'm the only person doing this and currently #1 at it. So I made two different playlists, put together some different scenarios that should help with practicing this. I have one called Controller Constant Tracking and another called Controller Shaky but Accurate. You actually don't want to be shaky, but again, how I said in the picture here, sometimes it is going to just come out a bit shaky. Alright, just to explain this a little bit more, I'm going to pull up a few clips to give some examples. Okay, first let's go over like perfect thumb placement, to where on a controller, if you do it perfectly, just because you can have that constant tracking, something that mouse and keyboard can't have because you have to actually move your mouse around, controller gives you the advantage or the opportunity to do something crazy, where I get that guy and then I just immediately being that guy. And that's not only because I am moving my thumb perfectly, but also because I use a bit of movement, so it just instantly snaps on him and stays on him. And that first skill here is an alright example of shakiness. I kind of scope, unscope. It's kind of on target, kind of not on target. Also kind of same with here. I know the dude's not moving a crazy amount. That's probably just way too tense for that first skill. So it looks yucky, and then that guy just gets beamed. Also, all three of these kind of show up in every single gunfight. Like, you could even see it with this, where I am either too far to the left of the guy, to where, because I'm too tense, I kind of aim a bit in front of him. Yeah, a bit in front, and then I try to get back on target. That guy was perfect. And then here you can see it pretty good too. It just takes me a second to get on target. And I use movement pretty good. Movement is something I'd have to think about and talk about a lot more, because controller movement is god tier. Alright, you can see in this next clip to where it kind of happens where I'm off target. I'm not having my thumb in the correct position. And then it jumps to me being just kind of all over the target. Coming up here, you can see me still trying to implement a lot of what I talked about, but it kind of failing, working. Kind of get on target a little bit. That guy was a bit better, but he was standing still. This was a bit different. You can see a bit too tense, kind of shaky. That guy's standing still. Not the greatest example. It's mostly the first guy, where I tried to match not only his speed with my movement, but also my aim. And then I kind of like go way too far left. I don't think that, yeah, the ground I was on is not completely flat, so it probably threw me off. So a lot of this is really just about keeping your analog stick where you want to be aiming at. So yeah, I made these two playlists. Let's get into Kovacs and try them out real quick. Okay, this first scenario is quite interesting. Move on your own, and you literally just go left and right. This is something I could practice so much more. because I'm on controller, I mean, this should be incredibly easy. I'm just holding the stick in left position, right position. But this is a pretty simple and I think a foundational skill that controllers should have. Even though it's a simplistic idea and everybody knows you move your thumbstick and hold it in one position, then it's going to have the same speed in-game as you move or as you aim, but not something I have seen people talk about. Got TAM target switch, TAM. Next one's a bit more difficult. But yeah, just focus on keeping your crosshair. So mine is still a bit shaky, you can see. Even though I put that tweet out, I have not come anywhere close to mastering just keeping your thumb at one steady point. And so when I'm aiming at these things, even though I can hit these, I should be able to have literal just like pixel perfect tracking on these, because I can hold my stick in one constant direction, just locked on to the target. Okay, this one's difficult. I am always struggling with these ups and downs. I've gotten a lot better at it. A lot of this is just things that it's quite simple, but because I or anyone has never really practiced it, then it's going to start out pretty difficult. And again, it's just bouncing at a constant speed. You might even feel your thumb shake a bit. Mine definitely did very early on into my training. Even now I can feel it a bit, probably a bit too tense as well. I should be able to do this with very little tension. Yep, I should be able to 100% accuracy on that because it's literally up and down, but no, just needs more practice. Centering, this one has strafes in it, but I like this because it gives you a good amount of time to stay on target and then it switches. So you just focus on getting back into that locked in position. When it strafes, then you react to the strafe and you lock back in. But you can see, even though these type of scenarios on controller is super easy, right? I'm like 90th percentile with a really good MNK players. Still some really good MNK players up here. Oh, I know Nico, actually. They're on controller too. I could probably push this a lot more, lower down my scent. This one's a bit more of target switching, but when you play these, it's good just to keep in mind, almost like the scenario does not even matter. You're really just trying to keep in mind what wanting to be practiced and improved on. And that right now is holding the analog stick at a constant point. So there really shouldn't be any movement of your crosshair while you are on the target. Even though you can kind of move around and be shaky, because this is such a large target, you can still be on target even if you're not 100% just pixel perfect. Okay, oblique tracking. This one's weird because it's some diagonals, not something you or I really practice too much, most likely, but I find it is really good to getting used to the more awkward spots of aiming. And the same still applies. You want to hold your analog stick at a constant point. It really just comes down to holding the stick at a certain point, and it should look it will be perfect. Better strafes, so it makes it a bit more choppy. There is this one. This one is a bit more target switch like as well. This is my first time putting a playlist together, so choosing scenarios not something I'm too great at. There's probably some better scenarios out there, but this is what I could think of off the top of my head. Recording this now, it's actually quite surprising how, even though I made that tweet and a lot of people seem to like it, and I'm always careful to not put out false information. Probably why I asked the MNK players, really good players, to kind of critique it. Okay, close long strafes. This one is a bit more left and right. It strafes a bit more, but the strafes can be quite long. I don't have my headphones in. I can't hear where it spawns, but it gives you a good amount of time to get on target and then hold that speed. You can see even when I'm on target, it's still a bit shaky. You want to be sure that your lines are straight when you are aiming. I think that's just a good principle to follow for tracking. Make sure you're not trying to predict where the target is going to go and just reacting based off of where it's currently at. And that's it for that playlist. This next one is controller shaky but accurate. Again, you don't want to be shaky, but you'll see even with this just Smoothbot, I am not going to be as almost on target as I was with those other scenarios and just holding it in place. That one, that like down right was pretty. Smoothbot's not the greatest scenario because you can still get like pretty high accuracy on controller, but you get the point. A B180 Ti, this one's jumping around, so this is a good example of it'll be a bit shaky. Try to choose a bit of easier scenarios. Even though this thing is quite large and it's not even jumping too crazy, I still have a bit of a hard time really staying locked in or keeping the crosshair still. You can always say like, yeah, sure, controller, you can hold one perfect position with the controller and just have the accuracy be 100% like in that one clip by the Jeep, but that's not going to be the case all of the time. Even in this, I'm not moving or paying attention to multiple things how you would be in game. Yep, 50th percentile or 61th. 60, bad. Control sphere, I love control sphere. So made this one a bit easier. Focus too much on holding a perfect position, just making sure that I'm accurate and on target. And when you're not holding a perfect position, you'll be able to tell, or even just by thinking about it, holding one perfect placement of the analog sticks is going to feel different just from kind of loosely gripping the analog sticks and trying to be accurate of something that's constantly moving. Cool. Smooth sphere, another good one. This one actually moves away quite a bit, and it gives you a bit of a better opportunity to really hold those constant positions. Pretty shaky on this one, especially at those turns like there to where the target is, it's happening quite a lot. The target's getting out of my crosshair because it's, I think, going faster forward. I don't think this is holding the constant speed. I'm a bit less accurate. And there I probably predicted a bit wrong. Try to go to the left. Had a good habit. Cool. PGTI, I love PGTI. This one might not have many uses in game. I do find it's very good for in COD whenever people are like falling and shooting at me, or a target's falling. This has helped me a lot tracking that, even though you can see I am very shaky with this, off target a lot. And controller does have a slight advantage to this scenario, but yeah. New high score on that, just by a bit. Okay, VT Ground Intermediate, bot 3. This one's strafing. And not the greatest scenario selection from me. As I make more of these playlists, I'll get better at it. I would probably even put this one in the other playlist, maybe. Because with strafing, trying to track something that is moving left and right, super quick. Obviously, you don't really care to have a perfect speed match. You just kind of want to stay on target as best as possible. But this one is a bit too slow. I could kind of try to match its speed a little bit. I wonder if I could do it in real time. The attention is real tricky because in the beginning, holding a constant placement of the analog stick is going to feel like you just need to like completely hold it. Yeah, that was horrible. Could lower my sense, push that score more, but we're here for practice. Okay, VT Aether, bot 2. This one's a pretty good example. Again, more reactive, so trying to keep your crosshair on the target. This one's a bit more reactive, more difficult, but really good practice. Get a higher score, but it's whatever. Lower my sense. You can do a lot of things. Oh, I love the narrow strafe. It's fun. Almost on 50th percentile on this one. I think this is a good bridge between these two scenarios to where those times where it's kind of just strafing quite simply, could definitely speed match those really well and track it perfectly, but it's strafing enough to where it makes it a bit difficult in the jumps. PB on that one, no best, not expecting that. The last one, AIO Angelic. This one is very all over the place. Be sure that you're not holding any tension. Stay on target. You can still see at times even I'm really shaky, and you could really fix shakiness and tension pretty quick if you actually focus on it and have things set in place to practice it, which I have just not gotten around to doing. With how many hours I have in Govex though, I've gotten decent at it, but if you feel like you're not making progress with it, or if it's just too crazy to handle, you sit down and practice it every day for a week, you'll get pretty good at it. Yeah, those are the two playlists. I haven't really seen anyone cover or talk about the tweet that I talked about in the tracking guide, keeping your analog stick at a certain position. So yeah, there it is. If you want to hear my top 10 clips after using no aim assist for 5 years, go and click this video.